Hey bookaholics, and welcome back to another video. Today I am bringing you the end of the year book tag. Every year I do the quarterly check-in tags that there are here on BookTube as a staple, which are the quarter-year crisis tag, the mid-year freakout tag, and the end of the year tag. I like doing check-ins to be able to not only hold myself accountable and to update you guys, also it's just kind of nice to reflect on what is to come still in the year. You know, it reminds me that there is actually still some year left when everything seems to fly by. So I'm excited to get into this and go through the questions with you. Question number one is there a book that you have started this year that you still need to finish? And no, that's not the kind of reader that I am. I'm not the kind of person that leaves books going for months on end. They are normally books that I will wrap up in quite a concise manner. I do read some books parallel to each other, but only when I know that I'm going to manage to finish them all. So if a book is unread at this point, except the book that I am literally currently in the middle of, then that book is DNF'd. At this point, I don't normally leave books just open for a prolonged period of time. It's either DNF'd or it's soft DNF'd and I will restart it, in which case, again, still doesn't really apply to the question. Question number two is you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year. And I have read some dark academia books throughout this month. I've got some vlogs, which I will link. So those would technically, I think, apply. But if we're looking for spooky season books, then yes, I do. I actually have The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Córdoba. And this one is adult fantasy standalone. Follows a matriarch who has died and she's left some kind of mysterious secrets that the rest of her family need to unravel, which is known as her inheritance for them. I am excited to get into this one. I think this is going to be one that's going to be like a nice soft entry into spooky season, because I don't think it's like going to be outright spooky or even spoopy really. I just think that it's going to have those like fall vibes somehow, and I'm excited to get to this one. I'm going to be reading this at the end of September. The next question is there a new release that you are still awaiting for the end of the year? And yes and no, because I won't get around to this book until it's out in paperback, because I prefer paperbacks. I won't get my hands on it until next year. It does release in the end of this year, so I will mention it, and that is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I have loved both The 10,000 Doors of January and Once a Future Witches by this author. I didn't love the Fractured Fables. They weren't really my thing, but her full-length novels really are my thing, and this is her next full-length novel. I'm really excited for it. It is a gothic, romantic, haunted house story. Couldn't ask for more, really. All of those sound like absolute buzzwords. So I'm really excited to get to it, and I love how atmospheric Alex E. Harrow's writing style is. So I know that it's going to pull through, and I'm really excited. But like I said, I'm probably not going to get to it for another year or so anyway. The next question is, what are 3 books that you would like to get to for the end of the year? Now for this, I'm not going to use the ones that are part of my like planned reading, the ones that I know I'm definitely going to get to, because well, I know I'm going to get to them, so there's no point in checking those in. And then, you know, obviously I want to get to any of my unfinished books, so I've just randomly pulled out 3 that have caught my eye in this moment for no real reason. I have Perdido Street Station by China Melville. This one is the first book, I think, in a series of standalone, series of companion novels, that is. And this one is a, I think, steampunk-ish, sci-fi-ish, fantasy-ish story. I don't know a huge amount about it. I did try and read this last year. I tried to put it on a TBR and then didn't get around to it. And this year it hasn't gotten onto a TBR. It's in my TBR jar, so I'm hoping to read it at some point, but it just has not materialized. It's not come out the jar. So it's just kind of sitting there, and it's been like a whole year now of me wanting to read this and just not getting around to it. So I think it's potentially one that I'll need to try and prioritize next year if it doesn't come up in the next couple of months. I'm hoping that it will. It is a chonker, but it is also a book I'm interested in. Since I am in the mood for spooky season, another one that I would really like to get to is The Great Witch of Brittany by Louisa Morgan. This is another one of Louisa Morgan's witchy books. I think that this is following a character that we briefly either saw or was mentioned in one of the other books, because I remember the name. This is set in 1741, and in it we are following a woman who is being burned as a witch. Over the course of the generations, magic has been waning, and it's just, I think, about her life and then potentially her impact on her descendants. I have a very weird printing quirk in this book where I just have a little kind of extra bit on the corner here in a couple of the pages, which is very strange, but I am excited to get to this. I've enjoyed the other 3 Louisa Morgan books that I've read, so it makes sense that I would want to get to this one. And the last one that I have is Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. I hear so much about this series. It's such a long series for me to want to start partaking in, but I've heard such good things about it, and it doesn't seem like it's my thing. It doesn't actually sound like something I would want to read, but I saw this for £1 for €1 in my local used bookshop, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go, because everyone seems to love this, and I thought, well, I'm never going to buy it new, so I might as well just see if it does it for me here, and then if it doesn't, then hey, no harm, no foul, it was €1. But yes, so while it still sits there on my shelves taunting me and just festering there, I would like to get to it so that I can check it out and see if it is actually my thing. The next question is there a book that you think could still shock you and become a new favourite? And I mean, I'm hoping every book is going to be a new favourite, you know, like that's the whole thing, right? You go into a book and I go in expecting a 3.5 to 4 stars. Like that's like between 3 and 4 stars is my expectation going into a book. And then it can disappoint me or it can surprise me. Either way, there is one that I am literally going to be going into with the expectation that this could genuinely be a new favourite book. Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. This one, okay, so this is one that I have very strange expectations for because it's a horror, which is not normally my thing, but it is fantasy horror, which is more my thing. The Deep by Rivers Solomon is one of the best novellas, one of the 2 best novellas I have ever read in my life. I love that book so much. I've not read anything else by this author yet, and this one is just sitting there staring at me like, come on, you know you want to give it a go. So for spooky season, I am going to be reading this. It's about a mother, I believe. She has a child or children. It's set in like a haunted, dark, dangerous forest setting. It has witchy vibes without actually being witchy. I think it's like, you know, the whole like woman persecuted in village, so she has to flee to the forest vibes that you get a lot of the time in witchy books. So there are so many things about this that I would be super excited for before you factor in that this is written by one of the authors I'm most excited to get into more of their works. So yeah, overall, everything about this screams like it should be a new favourite. And the last question is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? Yes, I have, and no, I haven't. So obviously I have my jars now, which are the primary culprits for choosing my books each month, and that has continued. So I have continued putting books in the jars, so that's not going anywhere. I have my series jar for next year ongoing, so all of the series that I have bought this year go into the jar for next year so that I can get to them. I don't want to put the new series in this year's jar because by the end of it, I'm not going to be reading backdated books. So all of the ones that I don't read this year will go in with the new stuff and then it'll all get mixed together. I have those as well. I'm not going to be doing monthly standalones or monthly Kindle books because I just have not really been reading Kindle books as much. And as much as I've enjoyed the standalones, I can't actually conjure up 12 that I'm really, really, really excited for enough to like allocate them a dedicated month. So that's going. I do still have a few months where I've planned which series I'm going to be reading. So I have February because it's Polathon, Pharaoh Feb, and also Blackathon all in one month. So I plan the series for that so that then the jar doesn't screw me over. I plan the series for May, for June, and for September and October. So I have some months planned when it comes to which series I'm going to read. But that's it. Everything else is down to the jars now. So I have been curating the jars, but I have mostly just taken another step back in trying to control what I read every month. But that was the last question for this tag. So let me know which book you think is going to be your favourite of the year, and if there is one that you've yet to read that could potentially become a new favourite. And yeah, that is all from me for today. So I hope that you've liked this tag. I'll leave the questions in the description box in case you want to do it yourself. Consider yourself tagged. I hope to hear from you again soon. Bye!